Alright, so for today's question of the day, or if we want to call it that, we were looking at what I would probably explain to be kind of a high scarf hold, which basically, remember that your scarf hold is going to be here, right? So I've got my far side arm underneath the elbow, I've got my body underneath this elbow if I can help it. Like, if I want to, I like to get as high as possible because I want to start separating those elbows out. Now, in this case, there was a photo, which hopefully I can put up here, of Stephen Kesting basically holding his own thigh here with the head up and this far side arm caught in this hold with the other one gone. And he's pressuring in and he's holding it here. And the elbow of this arm is really, really heavily separated from the body in this case. So there are some pros and cons to kind of this position. This is going to be a kind of a hard grip to get out of, right? Because underneath the elbow, so he can't start to try to work that side. He's basically has to start getting his head underneath here to get out if you're going to try to get out. But I don't actually think that that is necessarily the best way to start to pick this apart, okay? And the reason for that is that if I'm high into this position like this with the head here, the arm out, what I'm probably going to be doing is I'm going to, especially with the elbow separated as far as I'm going to get with being up this high, I'm either going to start to separate this down or I'm going to actually start using this as a choke. And it's going to be kind of hard to actually get this as a hard choke because my body's on the wrong side in a lot of ways here, right? So usually if I am going to go for a head and arm choke like this, I want to basically have my arm on one side, my body pushing his shoulder into the other side. So it's really, if somebody's in this type of position, I'm expecting to really be trying to attack this arm that's got separated from the body, right? So what do? Well, like anytime that you're in this type of position where you're flat out, in this case, the person in the photo is kind of like this, their arm is way up, and Stefan's body's right here pressed up against here. He's going to have this really, really tight here, and this arm is going to be free. So basically, what's happening here is his body's blocking, and he's got that underhook here. And my biggest threat is that this is going to separate, and I have no way of defending that with my other arm at all. And this is going to be way up here, so I'm not going to have the leverage to potentially stop this. So in a lot of ways, I hate to say it, but you kind of fucked up a while ago if you're in this position where your arm's that separated away from your body and you can't defend it. So if the attack that they're most likely to go for is going to be an Americana because they're going to try to bring this down and pin it down to the ground. So there's two things that we could be doing to kind of address that Americana situation. One of them is to start to turn towards the arm that is being attacked so that the Americana can't finish. That's not going to be much of an option here because, again, he's pressuring down on my neck here. It's pressure on my face. I'm not going to be able to start turning that direction. And the person in the photo is flat here. So what I need to start doing is I need to start covering this arm with the other arm. So what I would say is kind of a strategy here is I might actually pull my arm in and hold on to my lat, keep it crossed on my body if I can. I might even hold on to that wrist that he's using to hold onto his thigh because I don't want him to get this out. So I'm going to go for whatever I can to protect this arm from being separated from my body, right? So if it means I'm grabbing onto his wrist, great. Just keep in mind that this is, this arm, and this arm's completely free. He can still fuck with you with this free arm. So if this is here, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect this arm. I might cover it. I might use my head to kind of protect that arm, even if it's way out here. Now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to bridge into his body. I'm going to be hard as I possibly can. Now remember that the higher up a person is on your body, the less impactful your bridge is going to be, right? And so if I'm going to bridge into him, like it needs to be up all the way up on this shoulder, the free shoulder, and I'm going to be coming into him to begin with. And I need to be as strong as I possibly can and starting to turn this corner. He's going to follow me. And I kind of expect him to, right? If he's holding on like this and I'm bridging and I'm turning the corner, he's just going to keep following. And that's what I want, right? I want him to start going this direction. Right? So if I'm bridging in, I'm getting on my side, and I'm trying to force him to do that, he might try to flatten me out. That's fine. And this
I don't pretend like this is going to be easy, right? But I'm going to get into here, and then once he starts to follow me, or he's going to resist or whatever, I'm going to back my hips out as fast as possible. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to create a little bit of space here. I'm going to take this bottom hand in, and I'm going to cover this arm, right? So that I can start getting it down. And from here, I can start potentially creating a little bit of a frame. I'm not going to be able to get very far because he's really, really tucked under here. But what I really need to have happen here is I need to get this top elbow connected back down to my body here, right? I'm fine if he's just got my neck, but this elbow is what I'm really, really afraid of here. So by getting my arm back in here a little bit, I'm starting to get in the position where I can actually start to protect this arm. And if I'm continuing to drive in, drive out, trying to get this further in, I don't necessarily need to get this elbow in. And that may not be preferential. But once I get to this, I might be able to start to frame off of him, right? It's going to be hard, but I need to be doing things to actually start creating space. And other things that I might be thinking about is when I'm trying to create these space, I'm going to want to start to break apart this grip, right? And I'm not going to be able to just pry it apart. This is going to be a really hard grip to break. So my frame, if I'm trying to get away from him, little tiny scoots, little tiny pushes. So think about this guard pass, right? So he's got his legs wrapped up on my body. I press down here, and I can stomp, or I can twist, or I can push down with my body to start to getting that down. So all I'm doing is I'm moving out a little bit, or in this case with the leg, I'm pushing it down and holding it in place. So I pull out the platform that the leg's resting on, I rotate in, my arm is helping that continue to move down my leg the more I do that. So when I get into this position and I can actually cover and protect this, maybe start to build a frame here, I can start to create a little bit of space. It's going to be small, right? Because I'm using this big movement of my body to kind of move out and create that space. And my frame is to basically just keep him there. Keep that space that I just worked, then create a little bit more until I'm out. Now, he's going to probably move on to other threats at this point. He's still going to be in the dominant position, but we're getting rid of that immediate threat of that Americana. Okay? Those are just my thoughts on this. I have not seen this position before, right? So this is me kind of going at it from okay, this is what I've learned from my classes, and this is how I would start to address this position and how to break it apart. So we're going to do it in little steps, right? We're going to create little bits of space. Because your elbow's way the hell out here, you're not going to be able to do this. You're going to impinge your shoulder trying to just push it out so that you can start to get all the way out. Because he's got your head blocked here, you're not going to be able to do some big dive under. So the only thing that I see that you can do is get this arm back in and start creating a frame so that you can start creating that space, hopefully breaking that thigh grip. And a lot of times what's going to happen is he's going to see that the position's lost, and he's going to retake side control. He's going to be focused on worrying about how to flatten you out. And, it's not going to be a great position to get back here and be like, oh God, I'm stuck in side control again. But you're going to have a lot more opportunity to protect yourself. You're going to have a lot more opportunity to start to build on stronger escapes. So it's just the same thing as like high mount is in this case, is that you're so high on the shoulders that when somebody tries to bridge and buck you off, you can just ride that, because really their lever's so small, it's going to move so little, you have plenty of opportunity to kind of stabilize and balance yourself. That being said, could I see, because they're so high here, could I see some kind of inversion potentially working? Maybe it might. Because they're so high up on your body, this might actually be something where you come up and you can actually hook the head or whatever. They're probably going to respond by bringing their head down, but, it might be worth a shot. I don't know. So, if we're back in this position, and now I've got the head here, and I've got this arm,
here. Now this I find to be actually a deceptively not very helpful position to be in, right? I'm too high up to get the step over armbar. I'm gonna have a real hard time really getting here and doing the scarf shoulder lock because again, I'm a little bit too high up. And I have the risk of him shucking my arm over his head. So there are things that I have to contend with here. Now, if I'm stuck in that position, right? So in this case, this arm, this close arm is separated from the body and I'm trying to protect it. Usually I'm going to still have my hand in here covering, but he's just going to be up over the shoulder. So basically what I kind of want to do here is I kind of want to either come here or here so that I can start to shuck off that head hook, right? I don't have to worry as much about him really attacking me, and I have a little bit more freedom to start to actually break that apart because really like so much of my body when I'm holding this position is going to go into me stabilizing that once I start to go for something, I'm going to actually be breaking down my control. So it's going to be much better for me to have that underhook on this arm to control that. And I'm actually at risk if that person pops his head out, he's got my back. And that's going to be somewhat true with either one of these. And I'm thinking just momentarily about that first one where it's this far side arm right here. Maybe I'm going to edit this out of the video. But sometimes with these types of things, you might be able to start coming around this way and you can block with this so that he can't follow. And that might work a little bit, but it's going to be a lot of strain in your neck. So I don't know if I necessarily go that direction. So those are my thoughts on that position and how I would kind of contend with that. And again, like the threats that I see there, you know, there's a little bit of a threat of a choke there, but the choke's probably not going to be all that effective because of how you're going to have to pressure in on the neck. So I would be much more concerned about some type of shoulder lock in that position. There's not going to be much in the way of an armbar. He may have to transition to north-south or something along those lines, but just like that super high scarf with the opposite side arm being the one that's trapped, it's really, for me, what they're trying to do is they're trying to separate out that arm so they can attack that. So keep that in mind. Remember, your first priority is don't lose. And so recognize how you're going to lose and start to chip away from there. So those are my thoughts, guys. I hope this is helpful for you. Again, a lot of times, you know, these videos are going to come from you asking me questions. Let me know what you're struggling with, guys. If you are rolling now, and, you know, if you guys have found safe ways of doing that, like getting tested and wearing masks and all that, then let me know what struggles you're running into, and we'll see what we can do. Take note, be like, I keep getting stuck in this situation. I'm not being able to get it out of this. This person's controlling me really well this way. That's going to be things that are going to help this channel continue to move on.